Uh,
Yeah. And then I'll make you as a co-host.
yes, Louis and me as co-hosts so that we can share our screens
Yeah.
and
So,
and then
who's the other one?
it's Louis with the UCM account. Uh,
iPad? iPad
yeah.
UCM?
Louis, are you the iPad UCM or do you have not UCM, just UCM
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
maybe?
just use
UCM.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, I made you a co-host also.
very good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I just ran away from the conference and it's yeah.
Yeah, I understand. So, was everything fine for you?
Yeah, it's challenging because most of the bureaucrats of the Toyama Prefecture are here.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, so let's let's see if they will host our professor.
Okay. I understand. I understand. Excellent. So, is everything all right, Louis, for you as well?
Yes, yes, everything's all right here. If everything's good for you, we'll stop the camera for a moment and we'll set up the first presenter, and then yeah, we'll be good to go.
Okay, very good. So we still plan to start at 8 p.m. for you, Cesar, right?
Yeah,
So in 4 minutes.
we know 14. Yeah,
Okay, very good. Very good. So see you in a few minutes then.
yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
See you.
See you.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Edouard. Thank you, Caesar.
Thank you. Yung Zoom link na pinadala ko. Yung dati, yung una. Hindi pa. Nakita mo yung dating Zoom link. Oo. Yun, dapat makakapasok ka na. Pareho lang siya. Ayaw, hintay. Dapat kita. Link. Anong sinasabi ba? Yan, pinadala ko sa'yo. Nakapasok ka na. Oo. Hello, good evening. I think we can start now.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening po, sir.
Good evening.
Wala pa yung ate ko po, pupunta pa yun.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Ikaw yan, Vet.
Yeah. Okay, are you all ready?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Isuset to, suset yabe.
Bakit kami hawak na ilaw?
Yung biyanan ko, bawal may nagtitipid sa ilaw.
Sabi ganun. Joke lang.
Anyway, are our professors ready?
Nakikita mo na ako. Naka-unmute ka ba?
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, hello everyone, and wherever you are, all around the world, I would like to welcome you to this presentation on the understanding of emotional intelligence for the understanding of new children and teenagers, and especially when we can see this rising dynamics that are now more and more happening in all around the world, that is ADHD. These notions of concentration, of hyperactivity, all these problems that we see emerging in our societies. We are going to talk about this and continue the sharing that we have done last week on this subject. So I would like to thank the SEALS Teachers Academy, and also especially Cesar Santoyo for organizing this event and presenting to you this beautiful alliance that we have now with our foundations. So today you will have, and tonight, wherever you are, you will have the chance to meet many of our international professors that are live and will be also with us today to bring you profound understanding of their experience and also of the different school programs and trainings that we are presenting around the world. So the spectrum sensitivity is really something that we now see emerging in all countries. It's not just a question of a specific region of the world. The new generation are changing. The new children are different. And how come this is possible? We need to know that the pandemic has been created a huge shift in the consciousness of humanity. Imagine for more than 3 years, we have been often in needs of staying at home, restraining our habits, etc. And now the world is reopening with this huge experience where humanity has been challenged to develop their receptivity. And this receptivity has been interiorized to a very, very deep level in forms of many questions, also something that is totally new, which is a huge concentration on internet technologies. So if we go back in time, something like this happened after the First World War, where there was a pandemic. It was called the Spanish flu. And the Spanish flu killed more than 100 million. The statistics are saying that almost between 50 and 100, but it's supposed to be said that it was around 100 million people. It was even more tragic than what we have seen with this pandemic. And what happened after this, for many, many, many years, people starting from all areas, from arts to society in general, there was a huge, huge, huge exteriorization after a war and after major, major difficulties about this. People were wearing masks during this time. We talk about 1918 to 1920, 21. This was a huge, huge period that, you know, we can compare what happened during this pandemic at a certain percentage, because it was even more tragic, definitely. And after, it created a huge, huge, huge expansion of society. And there was a lot of things happening that led also to the 1929 economical crash. So that doesn't mean we will have the same thing, but it means that the speed up of what happened during these years are created and has created a huge shift in the consciousness, and the major interiorization and activation of technologies has made many changes in our societies, and we have not seen yet the tip of the iceberg of it. But there will be a lot of positive, of course, dynamic that are there, which is like more opening on the understanding of ourselves, of the consciousness, of the quality of life. And the new generation are also arriving with a way of understanding all the challenge of individualism, and also how to coexist with the world. Now with technologies and what is coming also with AI, with metaverse, etc., the more the technologies will improve and will be present in our life, we now see many people living, you know, in a bubble, living in their own bubble, and this is a big challenge. But at the same time, the more we will understand what we are and all the deepness of the consciousness and the unconsciousness, the more we will see the benefit of all the changes that are happening. So the new children, they have a way of understanding things now that are totally different, in a way where they have more sensitivity. And this sensitivity, like in science, like in everything, it's all about concentration. So this concentration is the essence of work, is the essence of science, is the essence of self-development, is the essence of the connection also in human relationships. So because now we are more sensitive, it creates also two things. The first is we are very open to understand the subtleties of life, the subtleties of behaviors, but we can also be more disturbed because we perceive more people in death. And this is the consequence of what technology is bringing. Because when we look at a smartphone, for multiple hours per day, when we do video games, when we are focused on a screen, we are also creating many, many hours of concentration. And this concentration creates more intelligence. So now we see, for example, TikTok. TikTok is a phenomenon in societies that are very interesting because they most of the time study human behaviors. Because in TikTok, you have funny things, you have someone that can do very in 1 minute, you know, they can do all kinds of things, or presenting themselves, saying I bought this, I bought that, etc. You have influencers. You have also on TikTok, you can watch anything from someone that is at home doing, you know, we can learn, of course, many things, but at the same time, you have this focus that is international. So your friends are not just your neighbors. Often you don't know your neighbors anymore. You know people on TikTok, or you know people from all around the world. Different countries, different traditions, different habits. So this expands our intelligence, our capacity to understand and to check this and that and this and that. So we sample a lot of information, like an AI somehow. We are now mapping more and more and more through internet, a lot of knowledge, but we need to go in depth. Because if we stay just at the surface of what we are learning or watching, then of course we will have many dynamics, but we will be superficial because we will zap as soon as we need to go deeper. So we expand the consciousness, and the concentration is just, instead of being like in science where you study something for a long period of time, you are like doing this and this and that and this. So your concentration is being dispersed in many aspects. So you have maybe a general understanding of many things, but you don't go in depth enough. And this is a challenge now in our school, because the new generations, they are often always in connection with technologies and many aspects where parents are living in this aspects. And because of that, then their consciousness, their neurons are now developed differently by being always like expanding in a huge way, but simultaneously, sometimes every time we are disturbed, then we just wish to zap, like we can do on TikTok or on social media. We put a like or a dislike, and then shoot, we move on to the next step. And this is something that can be amazing to understand, because we need to develop more and more emotional intelligence. What we see, we need to understand it deeply and deeply. And I think I'm fascinated by new children. We have research and studies now of over more than 30 years, and 30 years practice also in many schools around the world. And this is a challenge. I remember sitting with government officials in certain countries, and they were just saying to me, what is happening? What is happening? How come autistic is rising? How come we have now more and more children with ADHD and all kinds of dynamics like this, where they can be very intense, etc. And it is a challenge now when we are a teacher, because we need to understand that when a child is like connecting to you, he is also observing you like we can do on TikTok, on whatever, and he's feeling, and because you are there, you are the pillar in the class, so he's connecting to you, and then he's entering and he's feeling you deeper, at a deeper level, because the sensitivity in us can go and connect with people. It's not only the smartphones that can connect on Wi-Fi. Humans can also connect. I remember we have a lot of nurses and doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and beautiful sharing that are said sometimes, where you are with a patient and the patient can sometimes be there and he can start to talk about things that can even connect to who you are. And you are so surprised that he's opening subjects like this, and you say, well, what is happening? Because it's very profound what we can do in our inner capacities. So life through the eyes of new children, on the positive side, it's a world full of wonders and possibilities. They have multiple questions, but they are searching also to understand themselves and through others. And I think now new education systems are emerging, and it will be absolutely essential in the future for school principals and teachers to be trained in regards of emotional intelligence. Because raising and taking care of children with ADHD, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because they are so sensitive and dispersed. They do many things. They talk a lot. They are very intelligent. They go from one subject to another. And if you are not happy inside when you have these forces of life, because I see them as geniuses. For me, these new children, they are like geniuses, but they need to handle their consciousness. It is powerful, it is extraordinary, and it requires time, and it requires also many adaptation when we are parents, to be able to understand them and not to judge them or not to be tired of them, because they will feel that we are tired. They will feel that we are not connecting. I remember one time I was in a session with a woman from Switzerland and with her child that has autism. And we were presenting and doing exercise with the Plus Minus Code School program. And then it was very, very special because the child was so good at answering, and understanding emotions. He was really, really sensing in that, explaining things. And her mother was there. And at the same time, when she was talking, she was like having all kinds of expression. I know she was loving, of course, her young teenager. He was about 12 years old, and she was loving him, but she was overprotective of him, and she was always afraid that he would like shut off, or he would not answer well, so etc. She was very nervous. And I could see the microfacial expression. I was reading the microfacial expression of the teenager when the mother was talking, and you could see how he was often hurt, even if her mother was like just adding information and this and that. Oh, maybe he's not gonna, do it. And she was kind of judging him in front of me during the session, and I saw how it was powerful for the child, for the teenager. He was hurt by this, and at some point I had to intervene, and then I said, when you said this and that, it created, the body language of your child started to go in retreat, you know, and he was like shutting off. And then I started to explain to her that, you know, what you were saying was hurting him, but she had never felt that before. Never, never, never. And you will see that very advanced class, we can connect and teach what we call symbolic language, because symbolic language is microfacial expression, body language, but even more than that. It is to understand that, for example, like if you remember, Professor Christiane, my wife, last week, thought to you about the understanding that when someone is talking about the weather, he's always talking about himself. Always. So there's always the real weather, and you have the subtleties in the tone of the voice that will add information deeper than just the weather, you know, like, so, okay, tomorrow it's gonna rain, you know, so instead of tomorrow, it's gonna rain. And just the fact that we hear it's gonna rain, so we hear in the voice that the person is not happy about the rain. So it means something. It's not just the rain, it's what the person is saying about the symbol of rain, which is related to emotions, symbolically speaking. So this is a new time, and this is so profound, and I'm fascinated by you know, this expansion that humanity is going through, because this is a plus, of course, definitely, but we need to understand deeply who we are and the capacities of the human consciousness in depth.
I can't wait for a coffee. Oh, hello, barista.
What do you girls want?
Skim soy latte? Darren, soy can't be skim.
Hot chocolate, orange juice.
No, Dad, I want a coffee. Hot chocolate? Great.
So I was thinking of going to Sarah's later. Could you give me a ride?
Yeah, sure. Are you cool with taking your sister?
Yeah.
Wait, what? I have my own plan.
Carly.
Okay, I'll see you tonight, okay?
How can I help?
I am very touched by this this real mission that we have now in societies, and when you see ADHD, autism, bipolarities, when we understand depression, now that we can see in schools, etc. This is all about because we have the most advanced computer within ourselves. Our brain, the human consciousness, is so powerful. It is in huge expansion. So we can sense so many things. And when we see someone in trouble or a child in trouble, or hyperactive, or like, you know, having dispersion, whatever, we understand how powerful it can be. And all the memories that can be in only a smile, in only a few words, we can say so many things. And the more we are open, the more we are sensitive, the more we understand beyond the words, beyond the facade. And this is in an autistic child. He's so intelligent. He feels everything. He understands so many things that he sometimes shut off because it's too much. It's too much. Even if a parent is loving, the parent can be also seeing him as having problems, and he's perceiving that he is unhappy, or he wants to go to do something else than talking to him. The real I love you, or those who are not real. The new generations, they perceive this more and more. It's like, and it can create all kinds of reaction in them, because they can disperse themselves just to rebalance and compensate by this. So there's a lot of challenge, but at the same time, we need to see this as an opportunity to understand the new steps of consciousness for humanity. And I'm very happy now to present to you our team. So many of our professors, not all of them, because we have international networks of certified professors and assistant professors now, and therapists also certified in many, many countries for emotional intelligence. But some of them, and some key experts, parts of our research, parts of our developing programs also will be there with you, and from different countries, different locations. So this is a real joy to share this, and I'm so proud of what we have accomplished for the last 30 years, and now to be in partnership with Shields and Cesar Santoyo and every one of you in Japan, Philippines, and many other countries where you are located. So I would like now to invite and present to you Professor Anthony Di Benedetto, and also Kasara, that will be there to present and share with you their testimonies about emotional intelligence and ADHD. And before, we will also share a moment with Professor Christian Mahler, my wife, who will be there and will introduce also certain subjects today. We will have Professor Eloi Delmonico, that you have also met, and also Professor Alexis Mercier and Emeline, who is also a psychologist and specialist in neuroscience. So she will be with us today. So all of them are there for you, and I will come back for questions also at the end of our session. So let's take just a small intermission so Professor Christian Mahler can come to open the discussion with you. Thank you.
sensitivity can be the best things that you can have, but it can also be so difficult to be sensitive. But I have good news for you. How can I understand myself first as an educator, as a parent, as a teacher? Because if I want to help others, if I want to help these children that have such a huge potential, but sometimes, yes, difficult memories, dysfunction, I have to know myself first, so I can understand and perceive beyond the form, beyond the words. So understanding, but not only with my head, with my intellect, but with my consciousness, and very important, with my emotions. So understanding, profound understanding, equals going from sometimes sadness to hope. So I hope that this sharing will give you hope that yes, things can be changed, but you have to be patient, very patient with this huge opening. So yes, when you have seen there is this sensitive dynamic, hyperactivity, deficit attention, autism, and sometimes you feel even disorganized because it's so intense, especially if you are a teacher and you have sometimes 15, 20, or even 5 children in front of you, and everything is multiplied. The plus, but also what they are going through inside of them. So incoherency, when they say things that is not coherent, can be such a burden sometimes for family. And it can trigger sadness because they don't understand. And these children, but I'm sure yourself also sometimes, but you are not incoherent, but you can perceive things beyond the form. And these children will show you, it will be visible how sometimes they perceive beyond the form and the words, because they are sometimes like sponge. They perceive certain things, certain thoughts, certain emotions, because when we talk about a sponge, you agree that there is some liquid. It's better when you can clean better when you have a sponge that there is a little bit of liquid. Liquid symbolically is related to emotions. So, but sometimes it's too much. And they perceive certain emotions of the teachers, of the friends, of the parents, and it's also mixed up with their own memories, dysfunction. And this is why if you want to understand them, you have to understand, where does that come from? Oh, he's saying certain things, but is it coming only from him? Or has he or she, maybe she has perceived something from the friends or an adult? This is why you have to open your antennas, your emotions. And if we freeze our emotions, we can't feel all these subtleties. So let's go right away to an example, concrete example, because you all know, as parents, as teachers, you have studied that, it's difficult sometimes for the children, very difficult, and for you too. So let's have an example, a concrete example of how they function, how they talk in symbols, all the time, and it seems incoherent, or, okay, it's a child. Let's share that. I was in the kindergarten, SCT, source code, as a kindergarten. And suddenly there was a child that was singing to another child, "You are an Eskimo, you are an Eskimo, you are an Eskimo." You know, singing, it didn't seem nasty or, you know, with aggressiveness. And the other young child, she was 3 years old, she was like that, sulking, and she didn't like that. And if you don't understand symbolic language, that people, children, they talk in symbols, you say, come on, why is she sulking? It's, you know, it's just saying an Eskimo. An Eskimo is cute. But in fact, just before, I was in the back and I had perceived that they had a little fight, nothing serious. And then it was okay. And then she was singing, "You are an Eskimo." So I explained to them, explained to the one who was singing, "You are an Eskimo." An Eskimo. So I let you think a few seconds. Why the other child was being sulky and affected? Because she was treated as an Eskimo. It's not a monster. So you see, this is the way to think differently. Not only, okay, an Eskimo is an Eskimo. Yes, but what does it represent, an Eskimo? Where an Eskimo lives normally. Yes, you have guessed. In a cold country where most of the time there is snow and it's frozen. I'm sure you have guessed already. Frozen, remember, water element is related to what? Emotions. Frozen emotions. Always the plus, always the minus, remember. But here, since she was affected, and I could feel the subtlety. When she was singing, there was a little bit of mockery. Slight, subtle, but still there. So it was the negative aspects of the Eskimo. So she was, you know, unconsciously telling her friend, no, we had a little fight, but in you, you know, you are being sulky, you are not happy, you are like, you know, in a cold country with frozen emotions, and you are not happy. Even if you know, there was a facade and it seems to be settled, your heart is frozen. There is no more warmth in your heart. Don't be the minus the Eskimo. Of course, the Eskimo, you know, they have great qualities, but it was the negative aspects of the frozen emotions. And I said to her, because they are used to be explained symbolic language in a very simple way. I say, look, why she's not happy? Because you are telling her, explain with simple words, that she's cold in her heart. She had big eyes like that. And I said to the other, yes, so come on now, come on. And they were friends again because they understood, both of them. It's powerful. You are entering, you know, into her memories, feeling a frozen emotion because she was at a distance, and she feels hurt because, you know, you emphasize the coolness right now. So you see how it is so amazing. Amazing when we understand symbolic language. We record a code, and so they can recognize then when their emotion is frozen, are frozen. Just another example. A compliment and encouragement symbolically. Let's have another example. You see how we live. We live like that all the time. This is why we have hope. We know how to code the consciousness, and it's so important for the children. And it's interesting. And you don't do, when you accompany children, when you help them, you know, you no longer do out of duty. You love it because it's so interesting when you have to think, oh, why did she say that? What does that mean? You have to think. They help you. They are also teachers for us. So let's have this example. This is a sharing of a woman that is also working very intensely on her emotional intelligence, because she knows she had been, she has a little bit of rigidity and things that she had to work. And she has neighbors, and these neighbors have children. So she has been in contact with these children for several years, and they see her many times. Of course, she is, they're her neighbors, their neighbors. So she said she was so happy to share that story to me. She said, imagine. So we invent a name for confidentiality. Jonas, who is 6 years old. At that time, it was 6 years old. Imagine, he saw me with my car and he said, oh, Nadia, you have changed your car. And she said, okay, she's used to listening in symbols. So she said, but why are you telling me that? Because she hadn't changed her car. Oh, he said, because before you had just 2 doors. Now you have doors in the back, meaning 4 doors. Oh, what does that mean? Why? Why did he say that? That was not true. That was not coherent. And he had been seeing her car for several years. And he's a very, very sensitive child with such a potential. And when we understand, they say weird things and say, oh, he has not observed well. And then, okay, he's a child, 6 years old, okay. And the child feels, okay, I was not understood. I had perceived something and I'm not understood. And that was so wow. And she was so touched, this woman, because she knew and she could feel and she could validate why he had said that to her. Why? Because she had been working, as I said, on herself, social distancing. And before COVID-19, she had difficulties, very sensitive and difficulty sometimes to gather with people. When we're sensitive and we feel difficult. And she knew she had to develop our emotions. And I can validate that. Something had changed in her. So why did he say that? Try to guess. A car. A car is a symbol of advancement. We advance socially towards objective, towards people. You see, we think more than beyond the concrete. Think, object, symbol. What's the purpose of a car? And then he was saying to her, now you have 4 doors. Of course, we can have a car that has just 2 doors and have a family, but normally you agree that it's more practical to have a 4 doors car when we are several. So he was telling her, congratulations, you have a new way of advancing. It's easier now to socialize. You have opened new doors. So for her, wow, it was a compliment. And she thanked him. Thank you. This is a compliment. You see, instead of wife, 4 cars. So you see how this is amazing when we live like that. It was this emotional intelligence that he had used. He had perceived that something had changed in her. Wow. So you see, you'll be more able to make compliment because we always say, try to make, out of 10, give 8 compliments for 2 remarks. Yes, but you may say, but when they are dispersed and hyperactive, and compliment when they have rectified themselves, even when they have rectified, oh, that's good, beautiful. But also you'll be able to compliment them more if you are able to read how they talk and understand profoundly their sensitivity. You see, they feel intelligence, and that's the real intelligence. So we are live, Canada, and it's been a pleasure to share with you. And there are many other sharings. You will see all our professors and experts are also amazing. They have been studying, practicing for several years, and there are other teaching you will see amazing. See you soon in Japan or all over the world with the consciousness and in the concrete reality. Thank you.
Hello everyone, it's a great joy for me to be here today to continue sharing on the symbolic intelligence. It's fascinating, and if we put symbolic intelligence in the context of ADHD, for example, and as such as in so many situations, we have a unique advantage, a unique perspective to communicate and understand. So understanding profoundly the difference and the key difference it makes, this is how we can really bridge with people and everyone in a way, but even more with people having ADHD symptoms. So first of all, it's important to understand that we need to de-dramatize the ADHD. It's a form of ultra-sensitivity. We are like a super sensor. The human mind, the human machine that we are, has so many sensors, inputs, outputs, and sometimes it is so difficult to handle this, to be able to remain at ease if we have someone that is aggressive or putting pressure on us, or if someone thinks of us that we are useless, and then eventually we have a reaction to this and we diminish our potential, or we on the opposite. We do too much to please, to be loved, etc. But this is not understood usually because we don't have in society yet the symbolic knowledge. So it's important to understand in this context that children, the people who have ADHD, they perceive unconsciously most of the time the back end of our personal code, meaning our intention. If we don't have a good intention, eventually we are the trigger point for a chain reaction in the other person, because unconsciously, as we know, there are so many non-verbal communication that are being transmitted, but metaphysically speaking, there are a lot of information, and this is based on our intention. So some keys I'd like to share with you today, and the first one is spending quality time. If you want to help someone that has ADHD symptoms, hypersensitivity, you need to create a moment of quality. And this is very profound in terms of experience, human experience in a social dynamic, because it gives back the self-worth and it brings calm. Because it's like if the person doesn't need to fight somehow to be admired. The person doesn't need anymore to be extreme, to be intense, to do a lot of noise, to be dispersed, because there is a quality time being created. So quality time, what is it? A quality time is that you make sure that you have an amount of minutes. I'm not even speaking about hours, but if you create minutes that are dedicated for a specific activity and that you do not, think of many things at the same time, that you are really present with the child at this exact moment, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to give a profound self-appreciation at the same time for the child. And this connects us to the focus key. This one is very important, and it's to help create the focus in the child. You also need to be very focused, because if you want to help a child do some homework, for example, and at the same time you think about you have to pay your bills, you have your commute, and you're thinking about the traffic, and you are thinking about the latest technology, the latest episode on Netflix at the same time. So your data, your inner internet connection is dispersed. So you are sending, non-verbally speaking, a lot of multiple information that the hypersensitive person will perceive, will sense, and you create a disorganization. And you will say, yeah, but I'm focused. No. It's in you. And that's why sometimes it's challenging, because it requires practice. You need to practice, and meditation is also a very good ally. And even sports, people, athletes at a very high level, they have such a great focus. So we need somehow to learn to become athletes of focus, to share one code at a time. And this helps children so much. The present moment, another fundamental key in the educational process that I even practiced with my daughters, because it's so important to bring them back to what they do here and now, nothing else. So if they start asking, okay, what are we going to have for dinner tonight, or what are we going to do tomorrow as an activity, or what are we, no. The present moment. This is what is important right now. We finish the activity, and then later on we can develop, we can explain. Of course, we don't need to hide the information, but we need to create a structure that will help the child, the person, to be focused, to have the quality time in the present moment. Something else very, very important. And I would say one of the most advanced key is to be able to listen symbolically. So if you have a child, for example, or even an adult that can become incoherent somehow, you need to understand it symbolically speaking to make it coherent. So if someone, for example, is somehow obsessed with the news of fire happening in forest or in cities, and they keep speaking about this, and you feel that it's a little too much. It's not just about sharing a news. You can understand it symbolically. So what is the fire? The fire is a symbol of energy. It can be plus or minus. It's a great power at the same time. But if we have too much fire, we can become hyperactive. We can become destructive, aggressive. We can become too intense. So we need the antidote. We need the water element. We need to bring soothing emotion. We need to create a context that will be the antidote of the fire symbol that the person is somehow bugging on it, because some people, we will feel that, like a computer, they have a bug and they keep repeating the same thing, and oh, the fire, the fire, the fire. And eventually we can help them. And this is so touching, you will see, so touching, because something for a human that is so profound and that is so connecting to the inner root somehow is the sense of feeling understood profoundly. When we feel understood profoundly, it's like if it creates a calm. It's like if there is a peacefulness that can happen to be understood. And somehow in a society where we have so many technologies, so much information going on, there is a global hyperactivity, and we need to be able to bring the sense of profound understanding. And this also comes with the love and structure. You cannot just have the love, you cannot just have the structure, but if you bring both of them, you can create a magical balance. And how do we do this? We give compliments when the person is doing something right. We don't need to just say comments when the person is doing something wrong. Don't wait for the person to be wrong to say something. You need to value specific positive things as much as possible at the beginning, to create a self-worth, to create a sense of acknowledgement, a sense of admiration that will also contribute to the self-esteem. Otherwise, the person may tend to look somewhere else, to try to have attention, to try to have admiration. The person can become too superficial after that, just to have attention, pieces of attention. It's like a hunger. But if we nourish positively the person with the right love and the right structure, wow, we create a fantastic ecosystem, a fantastic balance that can grow in a person, and that can in time bring the symbolic intelligence. So I wish you all to be able to manifest this new form of intelligence that connects us to the root level of our inner source code, like computer. I really enjoy the fact that we are somehow like a machine, but a very complex one, a very fascinating one. But once we understand the profound code that we have, the symbolic language that lives inside of us and that is being transmitted in everything we do, the tone of the voice, the way we speak, the way we look, the way we dress, the way we eat, everything. Once we understand this, wow, we can really make great changes. So I wish you a beautiful continuity and experience with the symbolic intelligence. Thank you.
everyone. I'm happy to connect with you today on this very important subject because for me, ADHD is truly high potential children. And let's talk about computers for a sec. You know, computers, the more advanced they are, the more information they are able to process all at once. And for me, a high potential child is exactly like a very advanced computer that can sense so deeply, that can feel emotions, and sometimes not always understand them all and know how to manage them well, but still having this hyper capacity of sensing like a radar, you know, very powerful and precise radar that can go beyond what we normally perceive in an ordinary way. So it is very, very interesting to talk about this, and I'm so touched to open this subject with you because I myself was a high potential child. I still am in a way, you know, but now that I'm a mother, I can say that we have 2 supercomputers at home, and it is fascinating all that we learn and we continue to discover with our daughters. So my husband and I are fascinated by the answers they gave to us, by the reflections, the deep intentions they have sometimes. And I'm so touched to have 2 high potential children at home and to be able to understand them in a way that is so deep because I know how it feels like. And I received the gift of having parents that understood me, that understood who I am, and that see the best in my potential and help me build it in a positive way. So I'm so touched now to be able to understand my daughters the way I was understood. And when we truly get to this understanding of these high potential children, it is amazing, you know, what we can help them accomplish and how many wonders they can express and discover and build in their life. Also because of this love, this understanding they feel in return. So it's so interesting. In all simplicity, I want to share with you a conversation that I had just recently with my older daughter called Asia. So her name is Asia, and she's 5 years old. And she's amazing. And of course, she has a lot of energy. And I myself was hyperactive when I was younger. And I learned to master this strength, this force. And just recently, it was very beautiful because we were in the bathroom together and it was a simple moment. But she was very receptive and very sensitive at that precise moment. And she looked at me and she said, "Mommy, when I look at someone for a long time, I see internet." Wow. And I was amazed just by her sentence, you know, being able to put words on her feelings. And I understood her so quickly because I know how it feels. And now, you know, my EQ and my IQ is well balanced in my personality and my life. So I understand these kinds of reflections with so much profoundness. And I was fascinated, you know, just by her at 5 years old being able to express this to me. And of course, it is so deep because whenever we are very sensitive, hypersensitive, like this high potential child can be, it is amazing, you know, what they can feel, what they can sense. And they will always sense in a deeper way. So sometimes there's multi possibilities in a personality, like internet. You think it is only one person, but if you put all together all the intentions, the thoughts of the person, her emotions, her feelings, her wish, her fears, it is like opening the door of internet. And it is not easy to process all this information all at once. This is also why high potential child can sometimes be misunderstood, because they perceive internet, so they perceive waves and waves of information that can be infinite. It is so powerful that sometimes in front of a precise emotion or a precise context or a precise situation, they don't know how to respond well because of all this ocean of data they feel, this big data. And sometimes I have another example in mind. I was walking down the street with Asia, with my older daughter, and my younger daughter is as open as Asia. Her name is Kisana. It's just that she's younger still, so she's trying to express and to put words on her feelings, but she's just learning how to speak, so it's normal. But I see both of their potential growing and manifesting, and not always in the right way, because they are feeling others so deeply that sometimes they don't know how to respond, interact well. So we help them learn. And Asia was just saying to me, and she was seeing a woman that was laughing. A woman that was really like laughing. And she asked me, she said, "Mommy, why is she
You love
crying?"
your bear?
And if you are, in a normal state of mind, you can say, how weird is that? She's laughing and the child is saying that she's crying. What is the connection? But when I looked at that woman and I saw her energy, I saw that she exaggerated her laugh too much. So deeply behind an exaggeration of happiness, there is also sadness that you can find behind the mask, behind the role that we can play in front of others. And Asia felt that. She felt so deeply that she didn't stop at the laughing part. She went way deeper than that. And she felt that behind this laughing that was too, showing off and too much, there was crying inside. There was a hidden sadness. So you see, this is the power of high potential children. Sometimes they can say things that are unlogical, but go deeper. Try to understand why they said what they said, or why they had a crisis and it was intense, and maybe they felt things in themselves or sometimes also in others that troubled the situation and that make them react this way or perceived what they perceived. So it is fascinating when we think as deeper as that, and there's so many perceptions all at once. It's hard sometimes for them to manage this all well and to understand themselves also, because they can become like sponges. And it touches me deeply because I know how it feels like to search for your personality. I myself searched for my personality for many years before I was able to really, feel solid in who I was and who I am and who I want to become, and be able to perceive all this data, not close the door of my intelligence, but just be able to handle it with more possibilities, with more maturity also, and with more flexibility. With time, when we work on these aspects of ourselves, we can really strengthen ourselves. And now what was a weakness for me before has become my strength. And this is what I wish for every ADHD child or high potential child, because we can really get to this. And when we get to this point where our weakness has become our strength, it's like if, wow, everything is possible. Everything is possible, and everything can become positive also if we direct our energy in a positive way. Because of course, high potential children, if they are not coded the right way, if they don't receive the right knowledge or education or understandings of things or understanding of emotions, for example, they can become, people that are so intense and so out of control, and it can create many difficulties like schizophrenia, like bipolarity. Our consciousness is really like a supercomputer. So if you enter a lot of negative viruses inside, and it's difficult, and it can create explosions also in terms of personalities, of emotions, thoughts, feelings, and even way of behaving. So this is why we have to explain and bring them the right education about, first of all, emotions. They need to become expert in understanding the emotions of others. And how do we do this? It's simple, We start often with movies. This is what we do at home. We have a 5 years old and a 3 years old now, and we watch movies. Even if it's a Disney movie, we watch it while we question the child. What do you think about this princess? Is she really kind? Is her intention is really kind? Or what do you think about this superhero? And why did he behave this way? What is his emotion? Just right now, in the present moment of the movie, what's his emotion? And this is so interesting when we do this, and they love to answer to these kinds of questions. They love to say, oh, he's sad, and okay, and why? And I always ask deeper, why is he sad? Because that and this and this and this happened, and they're so happy to help you answer the questions. And if they are able to detect well emotions as they truly are, they will also be able with time to detect also their own emotions and to know better, whenever we are angry, how should we react? How can we calm down and repair the situation, rectify, say, I'm sorry. So this is something we should bring, this understanding, this knowledge of emotions. We should bring this into schools. We should bring this into activities. Instead of just learning to speak a language, instead of just learning to do mathematics and to make equations, we should also become expert at a very young age on emotions, EQ. Understand, okay, if I add anger plus jealousy, it can create a big conflict in my life. So if I add up, or if I multiply joy with kindness, it can create positive, beautiful things, and I will attract also beautiful relationships in my life, etc., etc. So, this touches me deeply because I learned this at a very young age, how to become expert in EQ, in emotions. And now I even see also the results in my children that are very young, but that are already so deep. And I was with my 3 years old a couple of days ago, and we were in a store, and she saw a man passing by that was really like very, haughty and egoistic and thinking he was the best, And did you know what she said to me? She said, Mommy, and in a very discreet way, with a lot of respect. She was not in a judgmental energy. She was really just observing with a lot of purity, the purity that a child can have. And she said to me, "Mommy, he thinks he's the best." And in very simple words, and at 3 years old, she was already able to recognize an emotion and plus and minus. And I always explain to her, you see, yes, people can have pluses and minuses sometimes, and we need to love them as they are. But if you understand people in a very advanced way like you do, you will be also able to better understand yourself and to choose well your relationships or your friends, or, to create yourself an environment that is more positive because of your EQ. And even if she's 3 years old, I speak to her this way because I know, how intelligent children can become when we speak to them with profoundness, and when we also prioritize their great intelligence, and we see it and we help it grow in a beautiful way. So explaining emotions is a very important key. And also as adults, an important key is to be balanced, because the more balanced in your energy you will be, the more easier it will be for a high potential child, for a high potential children to, feel well in your frequency. If you are angry this day, for example, or if you're very impatient, they will feel this, and they will scan your internet vibrations, your internet emotions, your big data that can be, too intense or too impatient, and this can be difficult for them to handle well. So we as adults, the more balanced we are, the more full of love, full of qualities, the more, positive emotions we have toward them, the more we can also help them grow in a beautiful capacity of strengthening them with their intelligence, and helping them by giving the good example of being balanced, and sending the right frequencies to them can help them also create it and stabilize it inside themselves. So thank you for this quick sharing, and I wish you a beautiful continuation in this training. With joy, see you soon for other beautiful sharings.
A few months ago, a mother from a family contacted our foundation because she was desperate about the situation of her family. Her son was addicted to video games at a point where he wasn't even talking well with the family. There were a lot of fights. There was a difficulty of communication in the family. And she contacted me, in a very desperate way. And she asked me if I could have consultations with her son to exchange to him
about what he feels for the moment, because she was worrying about what happened to him. And I called him Mike for this sharing. Of course, we respect the confidentiality. It's not his real name. But Mike was really part of this new generation we're talking to you about. He is someone very sensitive, very open, but he kind of refuges himself in video games. And it is the case for many, many teenagers. And even myself, when I was a teenager, I used to play a lot of video games because it was a way for me to seek for a refuge. I was so sensitive about everything that happened to me at school with my friends that video games were a place where I could have the control over what I did in the video game. And Mike, he lived exactly the same. He was not very talkative, you know, when I had these conversations with him, he had a kind of a difficult personality. Because when I was asking questions, you know, how is it going for you at school? He just said to me, it's going well. You know, the kind of personality difficult to approach. And when it is the case, when you have a youngster like this, a teenager, I think Mike was around 13 years old, sometimes it's difficult to talk with them. Maybe it is your case. You have already exchanged with teenagers, and it's not like children. You know, they are in the teenage years and many things are happening inside of them. They live inner changes. They have emotions they didn't know about before. You know, they are going from the childhood to the adulthood, and it creates a lot of changes, a lot of instabilities. And it had reached a point where all the family was affected by this situation. So I had to use EQ here to know how to approach this young man, because he wasn't opening that much to me. And I started to ask him, you know, very casual questions, you know, where are you going on holiday this summer, you know, questions like this. And with this question about the holidays, he revealed me something very interesting. You will see. He told me, well, we are having a conflict actually in the family for the moment about where to go on holiday. He told me that he wanted to go to the mountain, and I think it was him and his father, they wanted to go to the mountain, and his mother and sister, there were four family members, his mother and sister, they wanted to go to the beach. And there was a lot of fight. He told me, you know, I told my mom, I don't want to go to holidays if we go to the beach, you see. And this is the age, maybe you have lived that, you have experimented that, where teenagers, sometimes they say, no, I don't want to go to holidays with you. Oh, parents, they are not understanding me, etc. He was really having this energy. And when you reach just the first level, you think, he's just a complicated teenager, he just wants to confront his parents, you know, he is just wanting to create trouble. It's not just like this. Yes, its percentage is like this. He wants to confront, he wants to challenge the parents, etc. But there is a code beyond the mountain. There is a code beyond the beach. And he was speaking symbolically about what he wanted. Because the mountain and the beach, it's completely different. It's not the same place. It's not the same things you experiment at the mountain and at the beach. So if you go to the mountain, usually you go there for hiking, you go there in a cabin or a place near the mountains with not too many people, you do campfire, you know, you go high on the mountain. So you experiment things that are completely different from the beach, because you are more in a state of elevation. You know, when you go up the mountain, you have a beautiful view on everything that is around you. You are more interiorized, you are more, you know, in connection with an element also that is the air. You are more in your thoughts when you are in the mountain. It's not like the beach at all. And of course, if we analyze the mountain, we can understand the feeling of elevation, the feeling of wanting to have a global vision on your life, on everything that is happening right now. And on the contrary, the beach, it's much more social. You have usually many people around you. It depends on the beach, of course, but usually you are more in the sunlight, you know, people are playing volleyball around you, and it's more in connection with the water element, you know. And sometimes you can have people, you know, they wear a bikini, you know, they don't have many clothes, so there can be seduction, there can be, you know, games that are played, you know, sometimes without saying anything. But many things happen on the beach, more than on the mountain. And if he didn't want to go to the beach, this young man, it's because he was very sensitive. He was a teenager. And when you are a teenager, sometimes you can have complexes about your body. Maybe you are too fat, maybe you are too thin. People, they can make fun of you at school, etc. And when you go to the beach, it's multiplied because you are in a swimming suit. You know, people see your body and you are more exposed to the social. And this is what this young man didn't want, to be exposed too much to the social, to be in connection with more emotions. He was more playing video games, so he was very much in his thoughts. And the mountain, when you go up, you go more in your thoughts. When you do a hiking, you meditate, you know, it's a kind of meditation, we can say. You know, you think about your life, you do not have like intense conversations usually in a mountain. Even if you can sometimes exchange with people next to you, it will not be like on the beach where, you know, you share a drink, you share a game, you know, volleyball or anything like this, or with the family you have a meal, a picnic on the beach, etc. It's very different. And through this example, through this conversation I had with him, I was able to find a way to talk to him, because I told him, you know, when you say you want to go to the mountain, you don't just want to go to the mountain. You are seeking for emotions. You are seeking for a deeper reality. And when you say, I want to go to the mountain, you mean both positive and negative things. In the positive, you say, I wish to elevate. I seek replenishment. I want peace. I don't want to be in the social too much. And in the negative aspect, I have told him that. And he was looking at me, you know, with eyes like this, because it was the first time someone was saying this to him. And I told him, you know, if you want to go to the mountain too much, because it was a kind of a crisis, I want to go to the mountain, I don't want to go to the beach. It's like you want to escape from the beach. You want to escape from the social level. You don't want to socialize. And because you want to elevate, you can feel heavy in your life. And you seek this elevation. Oh, wow. He was not saying anything, but I could feel it was like a revelation to him. And any teenager, when you have this symbolic language, when you have this code inside of you, you can understand from a very simple conversation like this, very profound realities, and you can help. And I helped him. I said to him, you need to socialize more, you know, when you play video games, you are alone in your room, you are alone in your corner, and it can create problems with your family. You know, I knew there were a lot of other problems, but you know, when I took this angle of, you know, you want to go to the mountain, and when you play video games, it's just like when going on the mountain. I took this angle. He was more receptive, very, very receptive. If I just told him, you need to play less video games, you spend too many hours on your screen and it's not good for your family. It doesn't work with teenagers. It doesn't work with a teenager of 13, 15, something like that. They will just say, yes, yes. And then they will maybe sometimes play even more video games because you have been too moralizing, too, preventing him to do what he likes. But here I took another angle. I told him, you know, when you play video games, maybe you feel peaceful, maybe you feel a feeling of replenishment. It's not completely negative, of course, to play video games. and there are positive video games as well. So I took his perspective. Okay, you like video games, so you use your video games at your advantage. Play with your family. I asked him, when was the last time you played with your family video games? He told me, many years ago I used to play with my sister a little bit. So I told him, you know, start again to play with them, exchange with your family. If they want to go to the beach, it means they want to socialize more. And you know, it will help you with your friends, it will help you at school, it will help you in all your relationships, but you need to socialize more. Otherwise, you will stay stuck in your video games and you will remain alone. So he listened to me. And 1 week has passed. You know, I told him this, I think it was on Saturday. And the next Saturday, we had another conversation. And he told me, you know, I have applied what you said to me about video games. And I played video games with my father. So he downloaded a video game, a positive video game. It was really inspiring, a kind of game of cooperation. You know, you had 2 characters and you had to cooperate. You know, it was not a game of fighting or something like that. It was a positive game of cooperation. And he played that with his father. And imagine, he told me, I really felt good about this moment because it had been months since I had spent time with my dad. Months of not being able to talk, not being able to exchange, having conflicts about holidays, etc. And just because he understood his wish to go to the mountain, he understood he needed to socialize more, he opened himself. And it was so touching when he said that to me. He was even himself touched by this. And I even received a message from the mother of the family, and she told me, you know, I feel Mike is changing. I feel there are a lot of positive changes, and thank you for helping him like this. And if you want to create harmony in a family, you need to understand each other. And sometimes the code of someone is completely, you know, mixed and disturbed and complicated. But if you understand the code of what they mean, it can be anything. Clothes, fashion, video games, anything. You can use symbolic language to understand what it means. And when you understand these realities, you can find better angles to approach people. Even when you are a teacher or a school academic or a school staff, when you understand emotions, you understand EQ, you can help create harmony in almost any situation. It takes time, but if you respect the rhythm, if you go in the right direction, not forcing too much, you can have extraordinary results. And we have so many examples in our foundation of families that have changed so much with this kind of understanding. So I hope you will now use your EQ in a way that will help not only others, but also yourself and maybe your own family. So I wish you a beautiful continuation in this training. And now my wife, Emmeline, will present to you another subject about a teenager that will be very interesting. So thank you and see you soon.
I would like to share with you a story. So it's a story of a young teenager. We will call her Chloe. So of course it's not her real name. And it's a story that touched me deeply, and that taught me also the power of EQ and how with our emotional intelligence we can help so much young children as well as young teenage with disturbed behaviors. So let's discover this story together. So she's 17 years old. She lives in Paris with her parents, and she's a brilliant student. She's really part of these high potential children with genius. She even won a national mathematics competition. So very bright and very intelligent. But at one point, she started to develop very strange behaviors, very disturbed and intense behaviors. She was very rude, very impolite, rebel, and she didn't want to go to school anymore. And she was also, she was going to school even almost naked sometimes. And she was also asking a lot of extravagant things from her parents. She wanted always the most expensive clothes, the most expensive phone, and she had extreme behaviors, and it was not easy for her parents and for school also to manage her intensity. And she also had suicidal thoughts. She was very profoundly sad, and she lost the deep sense of her meaning of life. And one day she has even been raped by a man in a park after a party. Another day she sat very dangerously on the embankment of a Paris bridge, and she was threatening her parents and her teachers that she would kill herself, that she would jump down in the river. She also often tried to hurt herself, like cutting her wrists when she felt in deep sadness and loneliness. And I know her since she was a child, and as a child she was so kind, so soft, and we couldn't imagine at all that she would develop this kind of intensity. And when I talked to her, she was so receptive to me and so open to understand herself and willing to change. And she shared to me a dream because she was open to dreams. She was willing to understand their meaning. And we can decode a dream the same way we decode, a concrete reality. So her dream, we will read her dream together. So in her dream, she has no blood left in her veins. Her whole blood system is empty, and she tries to cut her wrist with a knife, but no blood comes out because there's no blood in her body. So wow, it is so amazing to receive a dream like this. And I explained to her the meaning. So the blood system, the blood is related to our vital energy. It's like what makes us alive also. If we didn't have blood in our body, we would be dead. So the fact that, and it represents also emotions, because the blood is related to liquid, and liquid is emotion. So it's also a capacity to feel vitalized, to feel motivated, to have beautiful abundance of emotions, to enter into action, because red is also related to matter, to action. And the fact that she didn't have any blood anymore in her veins, it was showing that she didn't have any kind of emotions inside of her. She didn't feel nothing anymore inside of her. And imagine, she tried to cut her wrist with a knife. So imagine you try to cut yourself with a knife, and here she didn't feel anything. So imagine what it means. It means that she really, she was so profoundly frozen inside of her. No emotions anymore. And I explained to her that because of this great feeling of emptiness inside of her, she would have a compensation mechanism where she would compensate this inner lacks of emotion in her through extreme behaviors, through a search for strong sensations on the outside. So this is why she was so intense, so dispersed also with powerful needs. She even told me that she dreamt of earning a lot of money when she would be older, wanting to live in a palace. You know, she had all kind of extravagant, exaggerated needs in her to compensate. But on the inside, she was feeling so lonely and so sad. And she even told me that she felt depressed, that she didn't feel any meaning anymore in her life. She told me, it's like if every day is the same for me. What is the purpose of living and going to school every day? And it was a very touching sharing that I had with her. I could feel that she was so open to change at the same time. She had existential questions also. She had deep questions, and I could, I could give her some keys to better understand herself. And she also told me one day, she told me, I remember one sentence that you told me years ago when I was a child. You told me that when you sow good, you reap good. And when you sow evil, you reap evil. And she said, it touched me so much. I always remembered this inside of me. So I was very touched, and I could feel also her potential, her great potential behind the behavioral intensity and rebellious, and even her parents didn't understand her at all. Even the school was feeling totally lost with her intensity. They didn't know how to do with her, and they even reject her also. So she felt rejected also, and because of this, she eventually became even more intense, even more rebel, because she couldn't feel understood deeply. And this story taught me so much how with symbolic language and deep understanding with our EQ, our emotions, how we can profoundly change, help a child, and give him confidence also that he's not just a bad person, that he has a great potential also. And I believed in her great potential, and I told her. And when we do this, when we still continue to understand and believe in them, eventually we can see a change emerge, a transformation that is positive. So I wanted to share with you this very touching story, and I wish you all a beautiful continuity in this training and in your reflections about high potential ADHD children. See you soon.
So this is so touching to listen to all these beautiful examples. And this makes me think also about when I was teaching, when I explained last week certain examples that I lived with my students, you know. One thing that I would like to add today regarding these examples is that actually, while I was always trying to improve my skills as a teacher, you know, I was always trying to help children that was considered as, you know, or diagnosed as ADHD or as having difficulties somehow. And again, I didn't see that as a difficulty, but I considered it was my responsibility, you know, to help them because I saw their potential. I saw they were, you know, bright, intelligent, and they were not understood. Remember that they were not understood. And I tried also to reverse the problem, because we tend to think, okay, these are students with ADHD, so they have an attention deficit or they have hyperactivity. But I ask myself, as an educator, as a teacher, I am the responsible of my group. Can I help them in, you know, transforming these dynamics, these energies, these, you know, problems somehow? And then I ask myself, okay, if I give them attention, will they still have a deficit of attention? You know, so I consider it was not because of their inner deficit of attention, but it was because sometimes we don't give them enough attention. Let me share an example. You know, sometimes I'm sure you have experienced that in the classroom. Students can be like noisy, they can have, you know, a wish to talk a lot or to call for your help, to call you, Miss, Mr, Edward, hey. And then you are like, you know, you are called by many students. And then you can say, okay, I cannot give attention to all of them. And that's true, not necessarily all of them at the same time. But I realized with ADHD students, when they were like hyperactive, started to disorganize themselves, you know, I was really present in my intention, looking at them in the eye, saying, okay, you know what? Right now I am busy with this group, but in 5 minutes, I will be with you, I promise. And then I will give you some time and you will be able to share with me anything you wish. Then the student was no longer an ADHD student. He was able to understand, okay, I will have my turn. I will have the attention that I need. So you see, by considering that, okay, we need to give them attention. This is not necessarily their own lack of attention, but our own lack of attention as educators or as parents. Because imagine, sometimes we just leave the children, play video games, watch TV, and then we think we take good care of them because they don't make any noise. But we don't take good care of them, we just let them be autonomous. And it's okay that they are autonomous sometimes, of course. But if we don't, give them the attention they deserve, then eventually they have this deficit of attention. And then they look for attention outside because they have a lack inside of them. So you see our profound responsibilities, our profound roles that we can play also as educators. Because if we nurture, if we nourish like that, as I explained, okay, I will give you a few minutes in a short time, then the student was calm. And even other colleagues could tell me, oh, but I don't know how you do with these children or with these students, etc. They are always, screaming or disorganized or talking, not listening, So I explained to them, you need to be like an example for them. You cannot scold, children or students just because they are disorganized. It doesn't lead anywhere after a certain time. So you see, this is like a fundamental role that we can play if we understand also, like symbolic language is like in the world, ADHD, attention deficit. Okay, so let's give them attention. Let's give them true emotions. Let's give them sincerity, presence, education, but not just a remote or a screen or, an activity like that, and then we focus on something else. They need our attention. And also hyperactivity. When I had students that wanted to become teachers, that were visited my classroom to learn, the profession, then I explained to them, there are 3 keys. You need to have clear objectives. You need to make the students active. This was the second key. And the third key was, okay, check the learnings. But the second key was, make the student active. Because sometimes we think that, okay, we just give an activity like that, and that's it. They are busy, but not necessarily. They can be busy in their mind, but with something else than you gave to them. So this is our role also, to be present, to be active, to find ways, to connect with them also, as I explained, with the eyes, And we can do that with just, games somehow. Very often during the week, I was like not finishing my sentences, for example. I was like, okay, let's go and start to do. And then, I realized they were like, he didn't finish the sentence. And they were used that I do that because I knew I was having their attention like that. Instead of, hey, listen to me, hey, I'm here, and then starting to be the center of the classroom because you are the teacher. I never raised my voice. My colleagues were used to that. And they, sometimes they didn't understand how I was managing a group of 20, 25 students without raising my voice. I found other tools, other ways, to draw their attention, to connect with them, to connect. We need, to create a connection on the emotional level, with the attention, with love, with benevolence, with patience. And I know it's not easy. I know you are like listening to me and say, oh, yeah, but I have this kind of student, you think it's easy to be patient. I know it's not easy. I know because sometimes the student can be intense, even aggressive toward teachers. I know that. I also encounter this kind of situation. So students can be aggressive. They can be, not polite. They can be, disorganized, talking to you, interrupting you, etc. but you are the example to follow. If you remain constant and qualitative in the way you teach, in the way you take care of them, they will realize that and they will adjust their behaviors. Trust me, they will adjust. I'm sure you have already observed that, with one teacher, the classroom is, the group is completely disorganized, and then you change the teacher, the group is nice. And, for what reason? Is it only because of authority? Yes, it might be, sometimes, of course, if you put a very authoritarian teacher in front of a group, then eventually students will be afraid of the teacher and they will close themselves. But this is not the kind of solution I'm talking about. If you are present, kind, and at the same time, you have an authority, you are able to say a good yes, and you are able to say a good no. But if it's a sincere and respectful no, not yet, but then yes, they will calm themselves down. They will respect and listen to you. And they will be, they will have confidence also in you. They will know, okay, he respects us, we respect him or her, depending on who you are in front of the classroom. So you think these are profound keys that I have, developed throughout the years, because I realized that, just an ordinary teaching is not enough. They need more. 30 years ago, it was easy. You entered in the classroom and students were used to get up or just to wait and see. And it was like, obvious. The teacher was like, the authoritarian figure, and okay, we don't move. But now it's no longer like that. It's no longer like that. They need something more. So you see, these are profound aspects that I really love to always share, so that you can develop also your own observations. The classroom is like a laboratory. You try something, it doesn't work. Okay, try something else. Don't insist in something that doesn't work, or don't lose all your energy. We are now in June, and in certain countries, this is the end of the school year. And sometimes, teachers are used to say, okay, it was such a difficult school year. I'm tired. I need the vacation. I need the holidays. And even sometimes, they have a countdown from September. They have a countdown. Okay, and I see people laughing because because I know how it is. I was there. So we have a countdown. And okay, let's have 6 months of school before the next holidays. But you drain yourself. You drain the students. And actually, it's a little bit strong what I'm going to say, but still, you somehow co-participate in the ADHD in your classroom when you are, like counting the days like that and trying to be like very efficient and nobody talks and let's do the math, let's do the English, let's do the geography, and that's it. So you lose your energy. And so this was something I was, I had in my heart, to share with you today, because these kind of keys, if you try them, you will see a huge difference in your classroom. Eventually, you will no longer need to raise your voice. You will no longer need to consider certain student as, having difficulties, even though, yes, sometimes on an IQ perspective, they might have certain difficulties. This is true. And we cannot say, okay, no student will have no difficulties left. Yes, sometimes, of course, certain learning process need to be, completed during the next years. and we cannot fix everything overnight, of course. But in terms of energy, and I also considered the energy in the classroom was most important than the lesson itself. Remember that. Sometimes we create great objectives, great lessons, great activities somehow, but if we don't have the connection, the human connection with the students, then you can have the best lesson you wish, it won't work. And of course, also for my students that wanted to be trained as future teacher, this was the very, very first thing that I explained to them. We can talk about pedagogy, didactic, etc., no problem. But first of all, you connect with the students. And then eventually, even if your lesson is not that, that great, is not as elaborated, maybe as the book, then it doesn't, it's not dramatic, because the emotional connection will be there, and they will be more motivated to learn if you connect with them, instead of if you just connect with the books and the theory. So you see, I actually prepared another content for today, but I was so happy to connect with you all that actually I completely changed, my content for today. And I know that it's quite late in Japan right now. So and I am from live in France right now. So I will let Professor Kaya have a time of Q&A with you if you wish. And of course, I hope we will continue these beautiful discussions and researches and sharings in Japan in the future. So thank you for your attention, and I really wish you a beautiful continuity in the understanding of ADHD students.
Thank you to Professor Edouard Delmonico. Was live from France, and he's with us. And thanks to all the team today for sharing this introduction to a very vast subject that represents what we can do for the new generation, so they can understand not just ADHD, but this high-level potential. We need to shift also the way that we see ADHD to understand that, okay, this is really a sensitivity that is like very advanced, and it is an approach of education that we need to integrate, all of us, as teachers and as parents, because we are entering in a new way of connecting to relationships because of the depth of our energy, our consciousness, and our communication. I remember last time there was a teacher that went through a burnout, and I had a lot of compassion for him, and I said to him, you need to now understand that who you are inside is also part of your teaching. you cannot just teach and share your knowledge like a parrot. It doesn't work anymore, and you're not feeling good also. And I know the role of a teacher is also a role of being perfect. And this is what we often feel because we are in front of the children and we are the leader of the class. And it's a big responsibility, I know, but we need to be authentic. It is even better to arrive to a class and say to the children or the teenagers, you know, last night something happened, you know, with my family. My mother got, you know, to the hospital. She's sick. And I feel this in my heart today. But I am happy to be with you. And I'm happy to be, you know, and we're going to do our work together. And then you feel the empathy of the entire class coming. And they are connecting. But if you just play like you hide everything. Okay, let's start the class, friends. Okay, open your book. Oh. And then you go like a robot. They feel that something is not going well. There's a problem in you that day. You are not natural. And why? And of course, we cannot say everything about our personal life. That's not the place in front of the class. But sometimes we just say a few words about certain things about ourselves, and it creates another level of communication. It is the same thing in business. I give many classes in corporations, or we train sometimes CEOs or top management or government officials in different countries to understand leadership in another way. Now the new CEO of a company or a manager should be like a father and a mother. So to understand the human resources more deeply, it is over the time when you are a boss and you do this, do that, do this, do that. You know, I'm the boss, and it's over. It doesn't work. The new generation are rejecting that. They don't want that one dimension dynamics in relationship. They want multi-dimension, and they want a lot of things in us to be right. And it is a challenge. It is a challenge. The society is asking for more and more improvement somehow. And how can we do this without freezing ourselves or being like a robot? It's just by talking about real things. You know, today I am a little sad because my mother just got to the hospital. And you know, you just say things like this, and this will open the heart, and it will also create beautiful harmonies. And I remember when we have done classes with children where sometimes, you know, you just go and you talk about is there someone that would like to share something, etc. So, and children can come out sometimes and talk about something, especially when we do emotional intelligence class and we are opening a subject about anger and whatever. Another week we can talk about what is generosity, what do we do if we are shy, how come we are shy, and then the children can come with question and say, oh yeah, I'm shy also, thank you, yes, I now understand that. And there's something that empathy from the group comes. Because in life we cannot just talk about success and the best, and I'm the best and I'm awesome and I'm great and this and that. No. In life we have the plus, we have the minus, we have the tendencies. And the more we become good in understanding negativity, difficulties, the more we become human, the more we become better to solve problems. Because a leader is always solving problems. That's what a leader is all about. He wants to avoid difficulties, and he's like managing and looking at things in a global dynamic. So we can take a few questions, Caesar, if we still have time, of course.
Thank you very much. And maybe I have to ask permission to all. Maybe I just want to make an announcement. We have to process everything that you have learned in the past 2 days. And the process that I'm thinking is those who can come to our classroom on July 2, I think that's we can have another day of session to process everything that you have learned. And one of the aim of this is how shall we proceed from here? That means to say, after hearing all of those inputs and after seeing all of our family members, I think you can feel our strength, or we're getting more solid. So this is a challenging time. And for me personally, I don't want to miss this opportunity. We have this one situation that it's maybe the parents are just enjoying it, no? The ACAN test. No? I think you know that. But EQ test is more important. And this is something that we want to break. So if you can come next Sunday, I will prepare materials of the plus and minus for you to understand how we could use these materials in conducting a kind of EQ evaluation based on that materials. And of course, this is only our initial studies. But as it goes, I'm talking to Professor Elwa for the possibilities of giving a more advanced training. That means to say we will not go to Switzerland, but we will ask them to come to Tokyo for maybe we organized a 2-day training because of your time and also the budget constraint. So these are the things that I want to discuss with you if you can come on Sunday in our classroom. And also we have to make the plan because Professor Francis and Christiane have devoted their October 22 to November 5th. And this is a good opportunity for us to make activities, and we want it to become more productive. So in line with creating, what I mean to say is, and I think Sir Armak is here because he knows more about ACAN. We want to make a parallel. We want the children to enjoy their life. ACAN will not impact their lifetime, but EQ assessment and test will matter for their lifetime. So these are the things. So we want to move on. So those who the time is because our regular time is from 10 to 3 p.m. That's our regular time in our classes. But since this will be a special day, if we can stretch up to 5 p.m. So that means this is the agenda. And for those who can come and those who have experience in giving ACAN, I think it's a good discussion. So we can arrive on something that where we can go from here. Yeah, I think that's all, because I know you have some questions. So Are still everybody shocked, or you're still your signal is not yet good? Are there any questions? How about our facilitators? Do you have any questions from us? Yeah, I think everyone is processing what I am saying. But what I'm driving to say is, I want you to come to see this book of plus and minus. One thing is how we can use this for English teaching. So this is the framework. We can immediately set up, let's say, Tokyo EQ Center in Waseda. So in the Tokyo EQ Center, we can conduct an EQ test for children using that plus and minus code. Of course, we have to be properly guided. And then that is one way of entering into a new market. And because we will not end from them. That means to say what we will be doing is, this is a famous system in Europe, the CLIL, the Content Language Integrated Learning. So that means to say we will be teaching EQ and English at the same time. Don't you want to have that kind of brand? So that means we are creating a new brand of English teacher who could deliver the EQ kind of test for children, that at the same time we will be helping children to have their EQ in a higher mark. That means they will continue studying with us. And what we are teaching are all EQ based. So looking on those faces of those who have, I don't know if you are confused or but this is the direction that I think the best option that we could do. That means,
Sir, is that another session for July 2?
As
this is Inari, sir.
No, this is, as I have said, we have to process.
A process, okay.
We have to process everything that you have learned.
All right.
And then the processing is going, we have to step further. So, and then since sales is working for children, and that's what I said, looking on Aiken test, they are just torturing children. So we have to have a better kind of alternative. We can use this EQ, this plus and minus code to help children realize also their EQ level. And then to help them in making a higher EQ, we help them through teaching English.
So we will have to go to the Waseda on that time, sir?
That's my, if you can.
Okay.
Because I think it's hard to process all these ideas that you have. I'm sure with these 2 days, or let's say 4 hours of discussions we have, there's a lot in your mind that you don't know. We need to process that. And by processing is we want to move. We want to do something different.
Thank you, sir. So you can contact us for the next session, sir. We need to have another day?
That's actually, if you can come on July 2, then we can draw up what the plan is.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And then, yeah, for your certificate, so please give me 3 days because I have a sudden visitors from Manila. So my first 3 days will be occupied with them. I could not work on your certificate. So maybe you can receive it on Friday.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So any questions?
Yes, sir, Cesar. I have a question also. But that's regarding to the topic of the students who are hypersensitive. We have one particular new student, and she was really overactive. She was full of energy, and what we have decided, since we have observed her for 3 sessions, she couldn't participate with the rest of the kids. So we decided to separate her, to have a specialized session with her, with just the teachers and without her classmates. So was it the right call, or will it cause more negative effect to the child?
I think it's our professors who can address that.
Yes, sir.
About Professor Wang or Professor Francis, do you want to address the question?
Yes. For extreme reason, yes, when the child is really, really disorganized and you are in front of a class, sometimes you have no choice to just ask, the child to go to the director's office or to organize something so the child can have a one-to-one communication. But what is very important to know when we have a child that is in process of disorganization, if we are angry, if we are stressed, if we are disorganizing ourselves, then this child will just explode. It will even be more. We need to have a neutral energy within. We need to have compassion with the child, understanding, he's going to have to focus more and to have some consequences, not being with his comrades. So this is not always easy for him to handle this. So the more we understand something in a person, the more we have empathy. We have empathy because we know it's going to be difficult, etc., etc. So you don't have inside to be angry and this and that. And what I call this, when I teach, I call this the natural movement. So when something happens in a class that you have not planned, because it happens and it can happen, then this is part of the teaching we need to do. It may delays the math class for maybe 2-3 minutes, 4 minutes, but then a subject can be, a human dynamics can be done in this specific time. Because if we force then what we want to complete, then the class is not having full attention, etc. So for example, let's say a child needs to go to the director's office because he has been disturbing the class, etc. You cannot just right after the child is gone, continue the class as nothing happened, because you have an entire group that has lived something. So you use this moment and you talk and you say, you see, we need to have compassion. We need not to laugh. We never know what someone is going through. Maybe at home it's difficult, maybe that and this, without giving personal information about the child, of course, because it is confidential, but we talk in general, and we use this as a teaching. Because if a child doesn't understand something, when a relationship problems has happened, it creates like it creates distraction in him, and also he can also be hurt, and he's not understanding what is happening because he's very sensitive. So it is the same in the family. For example, you are there, your sister comes, and your sister is crying because they have problems at work, whatever. And she's sharing this with you. There's a conversation. The child is there in the corner, young child, even 4 years old, he's playing there, whatever age, 12, whatever, he's there. He has heard everything, and he has seen, his auntie crying and everything. So you need, after, when the situation is done, and let's say the sister just, has left, you take time with the child to explain. You see your auntie, she's going through, she has like difficulties in her heart, and she had a problem at work. Even if we cannot say everything as adults, we try to find, the words that he will be able to understand. When it's a baby, you can just say, when there's an argument and it's been a little intense, you can say, the person has a little pain in the heart, etc. Well, whatever. And this is important to do this. EQ is not just something you learn over a weekend or with 4 hours of class, as we have done. It's a way of living. It is a way of living, of understanding people, listening to the energy. A person can sometimes be there trying to explain something, and then we're not sure and we don't understand because it's vague and this and that, and what does it mean exactly, etc. So instead of being like this, we have to go inside the person and say, okay, maybe the person is not sure, the person is thinking, has a lot of data to handle, etc. And we feel things. We need to try to always process and understand what we feel, because in what we feel, there's a lot of information. The nonverbal communication represents 95% of the communication. So, and this should be taught in schools to the children, even at very young age. Yes. Thank you for your question. One question can open many doors.
Thank you, Professor.
So there's one question here. She just want to ask if there's any specific mindfulness or relaxation techniques that can be beneficial for children with ADHD.
Yes, we can use symbolic language with them and say to them, for example, you're like a tree. Imagine you're like a tree, because the ADHD child is very, very intelligent. So simple things sometimes doesn't work. It's too simple. So you need to add like visual effects. So you say, instead of just saying, okay, relax, breathe, close your eyes. Okay, and if you judge him at the same time, he's feeling like trapped somewhere and he doesn't like it. But if you open and you use his intelligence and you open the spectrum of possibilities, so you say, imagine that you are like a tree, and then you feel the wind in the trees, and then suddenly you shift his consciousness. So that's why in the meditation and technique that are very simple approach that any schools can use, because it's not focusing on anything but using symbolic language, and we will during the training explain these techniques so you can use them, and you can connect with the child to give him a multidimensional approach in the relaxation. instead of just saying, okay, let's relax now, relax. So they don't want to relax, because even your words are not saying, it's not saying relax, it's saying, oh, it's enough. I can't hear you anymore. It's too much. This is what he's hearing. So often the problem with people is everyone knows everything. We know how to eat, we know how to take a shower, to clean the apartment. We know many things. That we have children, we have cities, we have everywhere in the world, it looks the same. But the codes we have in us, the mentality, the way we think, the way we perceive education, sometimes education can be based on rigidity. The child needs to obey. This is education. If you obey, you have results. Yes, you have some results. Maybe if they are really afraid, they can become very good in math or in knowledge in general. Yes, but they're gonna have problems to feel, to love, to say thank you, they're gonna be selfish, always on the survival energy. So there is a very important dynamic regarding EQ. EQ is the beginning of life. It is the beginning of education from the mother, from the womb, the babies in the womb. It is so important to understand that our neurons are programming first emotions before they understand. And if the emotion in class are not good because the teacher is just good with the materials, is just good with the subjects to explain, and he has not the intention of caring or loving or connecting as a dad or as a mom with the class, it used to work. But now that's why there's so many teachers going into burnouts, because the level of projections that the children are doing, the level of energies they have, and also the receptivity and the facade that often the teacher is giving and forcing himself to be the right teacher, the perfect teacher, not understanding the EQ enough of himself, of the class. It is the main situation. I'm telling you, this is very advanced what I'm going to say, but this is the future. In 5, 10, 20 years from now, all schools will have EQ programs. There's no other choice. You cannot put this aside. It is impossible. It is the future of education. And if you have good EQ starting from kindergarten, from parents also, because they are the providers of EQs, because they are the ones who are talking deeply to their children. And often it's not even there, because they think that just putting organic food on the table, that doing the bath, that bringing a house, an apartment, paying for everything, they think it's okay, but it's not enough. It's not enough. It's the world has changed. The human experience also has changed. We are becoming more and more EQs people, and this is the new technologies that is in us, and that's what we need to learn this, and how important it is in my view.
As a follow-up question, can we include in your itinerary a yoga for teachers? Can we include? I'm sorry, I didn't hear well. Yoga for teachers.
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Yes, this is when we say meditation, yoga, this is very, very good. And yoga with the consciousness, because yoga is, I do yoga every day. This is very important for me. It's like, because I marry my body and my mind together, And then when we stress, when we do tensions, and then we release, etc. This is exactly what we live in real life. You know, you have a tension, then you find a solution, boom, you release. So these are exercises that brings the forces of life in our body. So definitely yoga exercise is very, very good, even for children to do this in class. Just this simple exercise where we do the back heart, you know, like this, the back heart that we call this is, and then, you know, we feel it in the spine, you know, the release of energy, the tension we create, then the release of energy. And this is a way for also children to understand the energy within themselves, etc. And new techniques can be presented so it touches people, and we call this EQ meditation. So in EQ yoga, these techniques are really, really extraordinary. And yes, I believe it should be implemented in schools.
So yeah, we will include that in your itinerary in October.
Yes.
Meditation and yoga. I think
definitely
it's very big help, because, you know, I have some sessions that I just use the whole day for them to cry.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them are stressed, actually. Yeah.
That is true. That is true. People are now, we are a multi-dimensional being, and we keep a lot of stress, keep a lot of things in us. And we are like a living computer, so we record positive, negative memories through all our experiences. And we need to process the negativity in a different way. Instead of creating frustration, it should be there to find solutions, to understand that a problem is a forces to improve and to become even better once we have understood it. So we tend to see drastic mentality regarding problems in life in general. And if we decide to live not for the results, but to develop qualities, that's the main philosophies of EQ. EQ is based on the philosophies that I exist only for one thing, to develop qualities. And if I have qualities, then I have great results. And then I'm successful in life, in business, in money, in everything, because I manifest through qualities. And I put this first in my life. So, and I apply, and you will see, we will talk about the law of resonance in EQ. There's a lot of dynamics that we will bring when we will come to Japan. And in the next future classes, you know, this is just an introduction that we have done, but there's so much to talk about and also to go deep in the understanding of symbolic language.
I think I have to make this advance announcement. So from October 22 to November 5, so if you can reserve your vacation, your Yasumi, because we will be running EQ meditation, yoga, and the others that we will finalize, because we have a very limited time. Yeah, so please keep in your calendar that Professor Francis and Christian will be here from October 22 to November 5. And yeah, on Sunday, we will discuss more on what else that we could do, or what our community needs in terms of EQ.
Wonderful, Cesar. We will be really happy to be with you in Japan and to meet all of you. We're going to be starting our tour in just a few days. That's why Professor Eloa is now in Europe, because we prepare also a seminar, an international seminar in Switzerland that we're going to have in July. We have one in Canada. And then starting from August 1st, we begin our Asian tour with Vietnam. Then for almost 6 weeks, we will be in Vietnam. We'll be also 1 month in India, So in many cities in India also. And then after we go to Singapore, we go also to Dubai, and then we will be in Japan and finish our Asian tour with great joy with all of you. And it's going to be wonderful to be there, Christiane and I. We have never, it's going to be the first time we go to teach in Japan. We teach in several countries now around the world. So this is our first invitation. And we have been at the airport in transit many times, but it's going to be the first time that we are with all of you, and it's going to be wonderful to share this very amazing knowledge that is now changing schools, teachers, and therapists, because emotional intelligence is the future of self-development. And also dream intelligence is like our professor and psychologist Emeline has shared with you. This is also an expertise that we have, so we can talk about dreams. And even if we don't remember our dreams yet, just the fact that we study dreams with symbolic language, we study life at the same time. And then we start to dream. Every time, normally after a session on dreams, those who don't remember their dreams, they begin to dream, because we have this in us. It's part of our neurons. It's part of our profound potential that we have in us that is beyond time and space. A human is really a universal being. And the more we connect, the more we also embrace who we are. Yes.
Yeah, there's a question from Rachel Wilshap. Is there a chance we can rewatch the previous Zoom meeting? Definitely. Yeah, I think I have already asked the permission that we will be promoting this. And actually, I'm thinking to slice the videos to make it more kind of on a topic. Yeah, like, and we want you to help us also to promote it, especially our professors are coming here. We need more materials to inform the public about EQ. And I think this is a task for us. There's no one in Japan talking about EQ. And we are preparing ourselves. Yeah, just what I have said. This is a challenging and maybe perhaps revolutionary to offer EQ test for children. Yeah, because parents here, they like their children to be tortured. So they have to have high EQ mark. But I don't know what's the effect and the impact on that with children. Language-wise, there's none. Yeah, so there's no more question in the inbox. So are there...
Sir, I have one.
Yeah. Go on.
Okay. So this is for my daughter now. She's on the sixth grade right now, and she'll be graduating next year, going to junior high school. When she was in 4th grade, she was diagnosed with ASD, autism spectrum disorder. So I was convinced to put her in the special class, not on the regular class. Though it has a lot of positive impact on her, she was more active. She was more open with their teachers. Now her homeroom teacher asked me, next year on junior high school, am I going to put her again to the special class, or should I put her to the regular class? So for me, as a mom, I would like her to have a normal, like teenage year, mingling with her kids her age with in a regular class. But because of the language barrier, it's still hard for her to communicate in Japanese. So I'm still 50-50 if I should put her again to the special class, which is more on like one-on-one she could be taught one-on-one or be put in a regular class, though the regular class is like more on like studying and more on academics, which is really stressful for her.
So definitely you need to see if your child is ready for this next level. What you can do is you can try to create immersions progressively. Like, for example, before you make the decision, you can find any kind of class. It can be a hard class, etc. After school program, for example, and she can attend Japanese class or English class, whatever. So this way you make her an immersion in an after school program, like once a week. She can be with many children, and then you test her in this environment. Because if you create a shift like from one-to-one to be in a big class right away too fast, without a progression, it can be maybe the child will be okay. I don't know. I don't know where. I don't know your child. We need to have normally a consultation to create a good evaluation of the child. But let's say in general, it is better to prepare this. Like, for example, gymnastic. Bring her to gymnastic every Saturday morning or whatever in your area. She is with many children of her age, and then she is in this context. You can even find something that she's very good at, whatever. If she's good at paintings, find a class of painting. There's 20 students paintings together. So begin the immersions like once a week, so this way it's not too much. It's enough for her to say, wow, yes, I succeeded. Because the most important thing for a child is based on to reprogram the awareness of feeling the self-esteem. The self-esteem, it's like small steps. It starts with small steps before you do the big steps. It is the same thing for everything when there has been a problem. We do small steps and eventually we can enlarge the potential. Because if we start, from one-to-one to boom, and then you put her in a normal class, one moment she is bullied and she can shut off, and then she can be very, very in difficulties. So, but if you prepare this, maybe, it depends also what she wants. Ask your child. Don't only think that I want this. I would say, talk to your child because she's not a baby. So, and you can feel and listen if the child is ready. And of course, we go to the next level now. This is advanced what I'm going to talk about. But sometimes we can open a subject, and if the child is open to dream or things like that, they can receive an answer in dreams, or even yourself, you can ask for dreams. You see, I know this is advanced what I'm talking about, but this is, the more we develop our EQ, the more we are powerful inside, and our neurons can start to really connect in a very, very profound way. But let's say if we go back to practical dynamics, step by step, before one-to-one to the big normal class, I would say you need to prepare that with something else.
Okay, so actually, she's still she started attending this after school class 2 years ago. So she's going there like 3 times a week. She's with kids also having a hard time of communicating with other kids, and she's always happy after like doing a 1-hour session. Before, I used to be with her. I'll wait until 1 hour and then pick her up. But right now, she said, Mama, I will just go by myself. I will just go home by myself. So I don't know, for 2 years, she's like that, and she has an improvement. But in junior high school, it's really different. So I'm still 50-50 if she's now ready to join the regular class or I just keep her to the special class, and she's really
I understand,
open. Yeah.
but this is already good. If you have done this for 2 years, I can tell you this is wonderful what you have achieved. Congratulations! This has been wonderful. After school programs are very good for children because, and especially when you have a child that has ADHD or any, and being in the same energy, they understand each other. It's like you put lions with lions and antelopes with antelopes. You know, humans that are alike, they really feel the same. So this is very good to build self-esteem and remember, like Christian said, 8 compliments for 2 remarks. This is very, very important for children with high potential like this, because they can do mistakes. They can do also all kinds of things often that people don't perceive them well. They neglect to recognize them. So you as a parent, you have a mission. Every time she's right about something, anything, she go and dress herself and it's beautiful, nice. You see, and you say, wow, you're beautiful. You look good today, you know, and say this sincerely, just not to copy the teaching. You know, you do this with your heart. Every time she's doing small things, you know, give compliments. And then she's like, you know, really building a solid self-esteem with this. And we tend to take for granted when something is going right because it's okay, it's not a problem. So we always speak up when there's a problem. Oh, don't do this. Oh, why have you done this and that? And then we forgot that she has done 25, you know, things great. And this is part of a big problem sometimes in parenthood. I'm not saying it's your problem, of course, but I'm talking in general. So remember this, and I congratulate you for after school programs, because you have found specific programs, you know, to integrate her, and this is helping a lot. So for the next step, you need, if you continue this way, find other after school program with regular children, you see? You know, this will be different than being with people like you, like her, you know? So just like something, she likes art, she likes paintings, gymnastics, whatever, you know, then put her somewhere, something that she wants, that she likes. Don't put like, don't put the bar too high also. Don't push her to become the best pianist and she doesn't like piano. You know, because in a regular environment, not liking piano, trying to be the best pianist, this is going to destroy and disorganize her in a big way. But find something she's already very good at. She wants to study this, do that, and then reinforce this within a normal group of regular students. So then you can see and begin to test if she's going to be okay for high school.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Small steps before big steps.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So thank you, Caesar. It's been wonderful to be with all of you. I know now it's time for some of you to go to have dreams and to go and rest. And so it's been a great, great joy to be with the SEALS team. Thank you, Caesar, for putting this together, for all the efforts to bring Avant-Garde program to Japan and Philippines. And we are happy to be there and to support these steps to help all of you to become experts in the field of EQ. Yes. So thank you, and thanks to everyone, the team here for being here and having these beautiful sharings.
Yeah. Those who can come on next Sunday on July 2, so we'll appreciate it very much. Yeah. Okay, so I think all of you needs to rest also, because just like the other time, don't want to close there. Yeah. Okay, so can we call off the night? Okay, bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye.